everybody thinks we're going to be talking about running, but we'll be more talking about flying and dancing and rhythm. This HOKA means flying in Maori, and it's also we use time to fly and now fly human fly. And so this song just came out from some DJs I know. It's called Flying Away With You. So this morning for about 20 minutes, we're going to try to fly away with you.
Okay, I love it. Well, I think most people in the room know, but just to give a quick update, the company that you founded, HOKA, started as a niche running brand for, I would say extreme athletes. You would say normal athletes because you do 100K runs, and has become a global phenomenon. I think most importantly, it has really changed and revolutionized the technology of this oversized footwear. So we're going to start with that. We're going to start with kind of the origin story, the birth of HOKA, and your relationship with Jean-Luc, your co-founder. Talk to us about where this idea originally came from and why you thought you could take on a really established marketplace.
Yeah, we have a journey, we have friendship, and there's about 35 years which took us there to 2009. And I think there are some key defining moments which are far before we even thought about the idea. We're both skiers, Jean-Luc and myself. We grew up in the mountains, the French Alps. Both our dads were mountain guides, so obviously we love authenticity. We love to take risks and go hard, but within boundaries, with safety, protection. When we met, it was very interesting because Jean-Luc hired me in a ski company, and the first day I thought I was going to go to the office, and he said, it was like the end of August, no, we're going to go test skis, and we're going to go with all of the R&D team. And that day was really a defining day for me because first I realized I wanted to work all my life having fun, playing outdoors with tools. And the second thing is I realized everything starts with the feel of a product. And that day, there were engineers. I was like 22. There were guys who were like 50 from 5 people from different continents. We all gathered about the feel of the products, like the testing, the reporting about the testing. And we'll talk more about this in a little bit.
Yeah, and you and Jean-Luc, once you had this idea and you looked at tennis rackets, at skis, at what had been done from an oversized perspective and what you really wanted to do. From that point of idea to it really growing into a real product that you took to market was a fairly quick process. So talk to us about kind of what those key moments, I'd say, go from infancy to young childhood. What were those key moments, key decisions that you made in order to be able to bring this to market?
So it's when we started, and when we met, we had been friends, we had worked together, and then only been friends and did adventure racing, trail running together. There were key moments, 2 years, I would say, 2007, 2009. Before we even started, I was racing UTMB, which is the World Championship of ultra running around Mont Blanc, Chamonix, and I thought I was going to win. It's a pretty massive race with 9,000 meters of vertical. And I was leading, and I ended up killing my legs running too hard in downhills. And I did well. I finished in third, but I lost the race because of a lack of protection for my muscles. Jean-Luc was crewing me. Mm-hmm. And 1 year and a half later, we were at crossroads for our careers, and we tried to solve two things. We tried to solve one thing, which is create a technology with oversized, meaning extra light and extra large, which would create protection, which would create an interface, a technology in between the ground and the individual, which would allow them to run the way you normally glide, fly, or roll. And guess what? These tools had been invented in tennis, in golfing, in skiing, in surfing, in biking. And we were thinking, why hasn't anybody thought about an oversized running and walking shoe? At that time, shoes were quite minimalist, and so we said, let's take a piece of foam and let's go and try to shape it the way you would normally shape a surfboard and see what happens. And that that takes us to probably February 2009. And from there, it was extremely fast. We had the first prototypes, first day of testing. Since we were skilled, we were timing ourselves, and we were faster with our very early first prototype than we were with our reference and the shoes we were using at that time. So we decided to give it a shot and accelerate. The second time was like in the very late spring of 2009. We decided on the brand DNA. We wanted not this idea of running. We wanted this idea of action sport, freedom. We wanted this idea of adrenaline. So we picked the environment and chose the environment on the brand. I won a race with the second generation of prototypes, and so that spring. UTMB 2009, this massive race, we proposed to the racers to try our shoes. Very interestingly, before talking to journalists, before talking to retail, before talking to anybody, very interestingly, like 6 people out of the 30 pairs we had said, hey, can we race in the shoes, or is it just for like 20 minutes? We're like, yeah, you can go race. So people decided to go race 30, 40 hours with these shoes they had never heard of, they had never tried. And I have to say, like 70% finish the race, which is higher than average. So this is key moment number 3. You know, we have a prototype, we create the brand around it, we show it to the consumer at the biggest like trade event in the world. And then I go to the US, to the USA, like 3 months later to a trade show, to no booth, just a bag of the 3rd generation of prototypes. And I start meeting people. And you know, sometimes success story come with luck. And the first person I met there was like the owner of the biggest running store in America. He was a little bit skeptical about the minimalism movement. Mm-hmm. He knew his consumer were based in Boulder. He was a farmer, like a marathon world champion. And he's like, I want to try this. What's your size? I'm size 10. Oh, I'm size 10 too. And he spread the rumor at that show immediately. And 3 months later, we had our first trade show we were exhibiting. 6 months later, we had already pre-ordered 3,000 pairs of shoes, and we were shipping. One of our first customers was a woman from Silverstone, Colorado. She came to the store, she bought the shoes, she went to do that race in a backyard that's called Hard Rock. That's the toughest 100 miles in the world. It's at 4,000 meters. She not only won in the woman category, she broke the course record, and she was first overall for like 80 miles and finished 3rd. Wow. So this is like the little odyssey of HOKA, like wrapped in about like 18, 20 months.
Yeah. Well, and I want to kind of go back to one of the things you said. You started with passionate users, your ideal user and your ideal customer. So everybody talks about their ICP and, you know, what's my customer profile look like? You started with that. You said before journalists, before anything else went to market, you started with these athletes who you knew would be running great distances downhill. How did you not lose that connection to them? Because you look around now and it's everywhere from extreme athletes to everyday runners to commuters, you know, on the metro. How did you not lose that connection to that passionate community who wanted the product to begin with?
I think it's a consequence of the lack of means at first. You know, you can't afford like a marketing budget, you can't afford like a massive distribution. So you have to go with your friends and family and a few athletes, and you have to go with your consumers. And it's easy to say now, oh, when you have an iconic brand, when you have like a cult product, that's changed like the industry, the retail, the sell-through is quite easy. But at first and at last, you need to very much focus on creating this connection through the feel, through the sensation that is new, that has never existed with the whole community. And then it comes naturally. Your first customers become your ambassadors. I loved in 2011, 2012, what I was running, like for instance in California, to meet the very first HOKA consumers. Say, oh, where did you find them? Oh, I found them online, or I found them in this store. But you know what? I told my dad, I told my sister, I have 5 pairs, and I've probably sold about 20. This other lady said, I have to have a little sticker at the tag, like to describe the shoes, because people are always stopping me on the trails and asking me where I got them. So it's a snowball effect. You grow the community organically. And 16 years later, this thing remains for the company, for the team, for like all of the opinion leaders, everybody. It remains the motto. It remains like the focus to grow the community around love.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, talk about a passionate loyalist. She was carrying her own business cards to sell your product for you. So let's talk about the moment at which you met the Deckers team, this decision to kind of hand over the business and move it on to that next level. Why did you do it at that time? Why was it the right decision for you and Jean-Luc?
So it's very interesting, to have this moment, because as I just said, we grow the community, and at some point you need some partners, so you can go finance or strategic. We found other friends. We said earlier that this friendship with Jean-Luc, and then we found friends there, Angel Martinez, Stuart Jenkins, and later like the ELT of Deckers, and we decided to do it together in different ways, and it made sense because of the partnerships, the factories, the legal, the distribution, the finance, that they run the company and that we keep doing it together. You know how entrepreneurs hand over companies and they have a deal for 2 years to help the transition, and these deals normally last 6 to 9 months. I've had a deal for like 13 years, and we just renewed for 3. And we do that together, and we are kind of the guardians of the temples. We do the business, we do it amazingly well, and it's great. The risk, if we hadn't done that, is to be swept away with the technology by competitors who would be much bigger than us. If I give you like the example, we talked about oversize earlier, you can look at which companies really invented the parabolic and shaped skis or the oversized tennis rackets. They're not here today as a leader.
Yeah.
We are here as one of the leaders or challengers in the running industry because we had the right partner at the right time and because we kept working together on putting this brand on the map.
I think that's such a key takeaway for founders in the audience too, is like you doing that process and knowing exactly what you needed from a partner allowed you to go from 6 months on with the brand to now 16 years. Like it's pretty unheard of. And you mentioned to me before that the American market, the distribution, like the strength of what you would need to do in order to look at a partner. So it was not just about that, but it was also about protecting the brand and the culture. I mean, you can say the tagline, but it still exists. It was your original idea.
Yes, it still very much exists. What I think, before I came here, I knew you're all very much involved with retail, and I was trying to think about what would be a good take and what would be what you could convert to your own experiences and to your own business. So. First, I've been experiencing some very fantastic new adventures with retail. HOKA just opened 1,600 square meter store in Shanghai, and it's not a store. It's like literally an experience center. The bottom is like a full tribute. It's like a museum. It's a tribute to our journey, to how we started. There's one model of shoe specific, that was the first one, called the Mafate, which is like portrait, like through the museum. There's a lab where you can help people get the fits and train better in that level. And then you have the central level where you have all of the footwear, some of the apparel for performance. And then you have another full level on like 500 square meters, which is dedicated to lifestyle. Of course, you want runners, hikers, trail runners to endorse your brand and to join the community. But as you know, there's a very powerful trend right now in lifestyle and travel towards running footwear. Yeah. And a lot of this you see also in apparel with very successful high-end brands. And a lot of this comes from the mountains. A lot of this comes from nature and a fantastic environment. So we have this level in retail where we can meet the consumers, where we can meet and have them go through all of our lifestyle and even fashion experience.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that store is such a great example of the way in which you guys have brought forward the brand in a very authentic way to the way you started it. You know, really protected your original customer base, but also made it regionally appropriate and created real experiences for people. I know there were 3 or 4 kind of key things we wanted to make sure that we leave this audience with. I think starting with that universal language that you built. So let's talk through that a bit.
Yeah, and that goes beyond HOKA. I mean, it's something that, as I said, as this opening comment, like that's probably 25 or 30 years now. Iconic brands, and cool products. You want to be global. You want to talk to all actors, from like investors to founders to engineers to, of course, retailers. And there is, in the industry, and especially with sports, and I've experienced that with skis for about like 15 years, you have this universal language. In the case of HOKA, I can describe it. Of course, it's like going from running to rolling, gliding, and flying, but we have a few steps. So the first thing is when people pick up the shoe, they love it. They're very surprised based on the volume that it's so light. So that's always the first step. And then they try it on, and they feel, and it was like this in 2009, it's like this today. So they feel the landing. Like, oh, it almost goes a bit, it's funny because it almost goes a bit backwards. And then they feel the rolling, and then they feel the bouncing, And that is the DNA of the feel we've created, and it's spread it to hundreds of models now. It's spread it beyond HOKA in the industry because you also have like some shoes. And everybody can talk this language. And this language transits and transforms into performance for some people. It can transform into comfort for some other people, protection and safety, but everyone, every actor in the industry on 5 continents can understand this language. Once you have had the opportunity to create this language, you build a style around it. You build something that looks almost like goofy and cartoonish, that carries the message of the feel. You build a brand around the style and the performance. And the brand, one thing that's very important, you're not only, it's not a tool, it's not a hammer, it's not something to do better, and to just be more fit or faster. You need to open horizons. You need to tell people that with this new technology, with this style, they will do something that they've never done before. And in the case of running footwear, I would say that the most spectacular phenomenon is trail running and running downhill. When you're running on flat or uphill, you need to propel yourself. You need energy to go. When you're going down, you need to handle the terrain, but you get in this equilibrium where you really feel like you're flying. And running downhill was really elite about 20 years ago, and it grew with the technology. And people right now are regrouping. We see a lot, for instance, in Asia, we see dozens of thousands of people who want to go try a trail run for the adrenaline and for the freedom. And so with all of these ingredients, the feel, the design, and the brand that's taking you to new horizons, you create and you grow this community in a limitless way.
I love it. That's amazing. Well, and we'll close up with this. I mean, we talked about those core points that they can take something away from. Create that universal language. Don't be afraid to break the mold. I mean, you guys absolutely broke the mold, right? Do something, I love what you just said, allow customers to do something that they love even more, empower them to do more. And then that community, you said it to me before, the fellowship of flying runners. There's something really powerful about that being the starting point and the origin of this brand.
Yeah, I think we all have a dream. I don't think neither my partner or myself or the people who took over It's not about being the biggest. Sometimes it's about being the best, but I think we want to be the most loved consumer good brand in the world. I think we have almost everything for that. We're on adrenaline, we're on fun, we're on fashion. It's footwear. We have like the background of nature and the environment and the mountains. We can bring that to the cities. We can bring that to the 5 continents. And we also have the opportunity to deal with health, you know, health, environment, fun. So these are all of the ingredients and most important thing for me is when people come and say, I love the shoes, I love the look, I love the feel, and I love that I can do things with them I could never do before.
All right, thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for attending this morning.
Thank you, Nicolas and Sarah.